Hey, Adam.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Where are you right
Right
now?
now, I am in Rio, which is along this East Florida um, coastline.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Hutchinson Island area, that area.
All right. Is it rainy there, or is it? I keep trying. What's the?
It's Florida, so it might be something blowing, but actually a pretty beautiful day. So,
Okay, okay. So just an illusion.
yeah,
Nothing that we're not used to.
yeah,
Well, man, good to have you here. Thank you for hopping on and for joining the Awakenpedia community. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you and introducing you to our group. You have a really interesting story and journey that I'd love for you to share with us all and to learn more about you, and what you do and why you do it.
yeah.
So, this is just a really friendly, informal chat to give you that air and space to be able to express, and um, this will become part of the partner profile and how
Very nice.
people can get to know you
Awesome.
in our community. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Um, I like to kick things off by immediately putting you in the hot seat, which is to ask you to share a bit about your awakening journey and anything that you feel is relevant about your path and
Right.
how it led to this moment.
Yeah.
Um, so start where you'd like and take it where you'd
Well, well, life is a bit of a kind of a jumbled mess of experiences, right? So, like, it's interesting when you start going back how everything just interestingly connects along the path. So for me, when, I'm trying to think what the best place to start. So a few years ago, I went through like divorce and something that I've learned to call like beautiful destruction is what I like. I feel that on a healing path, sometimes universe or God has to realign us into an intentional design, how who we were created to be. And so I think that in order to do that, sometimes it's painful because we, from a mindset, we're programmed before we even have the ability to take over our mindset. We're already like default sent out into the world. This is what success is. This is what it means to be normal. This is what it means to be human. Because when we're babies, we have no idea what we're doing. We learn, and those learning experiences become our identity. But sometimes that identity, even though it's well-meaning influences, isn't our ideal path. And so the universe, to shift us painfully, has to rip things out of our life to align us with where we need to be. In my experience, so like it could be easy to say from like a victim mentality, oh, this happened to me, that happened to me, this happened to me, and just go through a series of things that happen. But when you start sitting with some of those experiences, you realize that everything actually is connected back to a much earlier experience in life.
like.
And so for me, the experience of the divorce was kind of like the gateway to really opening my eyes to life, because up until then I had just kind of lived a manufactured life. I went to school, got a degree, I was working in a company for 7 years, working my way up the line. I was everything I was supposed to make you successful and happy, the family, had a house, had all this stuff, and then it all came crashing down seemingly overnight, even though now in hindsight I see that the connection was really stuff that was going back way, way earlier than I can even consciously remember sometimes. So, you know,
The dream turned into a nightmare, so it seems.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you know, overwhelmed with emotion and trying to figure out, okay, what is going on with my life? I just feel like lost, no identity. My entire identity was, I grew up in a Christian household that was expected to follow lines of tradition in terms of marriage and things like that. And I was just going along with what was expected, what was natural, what was normal. But it really shook me because like that was my 25, 26 years of my identity was in that established, what I call like this, I don't want to say lower level consciousness in terms of like a degrading term, but people that just aren't aware,
Yeah, sleep.
right? It's
Right.
like the
Yeah.
tangled network of belief and ritual and philosophies and education that society tells us this is what you need to be happy, to be educated, to be successful, to be wealthy. And when people chase that, thinking that that's where the success is, but it's not. And that I learned the hard way. So it was really the wake up call that I needed.
Mm.
But because I, my traditional healing would have been like Judeo-Christian values of, just pray and just go to church and all this stuff,
Mm.
wasn't working because my mindset wasn't aligned with that thinking, because I was like, it was, it left me shallow. And now here I was following everything. It was supposed to line up and everything right out into the sunset, but it didn't happen. So overwhelmed and trying to find healing, I pretty much left. I was born and raised in North Carolina, and I pretty much left everything I knew behind. And for the past few years, I pretty much adopted a nomadic lifestyle. And I mean, in the last 15 months, I've been to 48 different states. So I travel a lot, do a lot of hiking, a lot of, outdoor stuff. But the experiences have been, it didn't start as a pretty experience. I'll put it that way. So, you know, after a series of trying to figure out where to go, and I ended up, after a few months, just kind of camping out in Seattle. And I love Seattle, probably my favorite state in terms of the natural beauty and stuff like that. Um, but when I was out there, I I pretty much had lost everything. I was pretty much living it out of my car. Like I had a job lined up, it didn't really work out. It just seemed like everything was just crumbling. And I would try to, okay, get a job, get resituated into life, and something would happen, and it's like, nope, nope, and it keeps throwing you back. But interestingly, that's where the healing actually started. Was when I was didn't have anything. I didn't have any money in my pocket. I didn't have. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't have a place to stay. I was on pretty much on the streets, and that's when, yet not having anything, I started to feel the sense of gratitude and to really ground into that feeling, because I started just sitting with these emotions. I'm like, because they're all over the place. I'm like, but I'm still feeling grateful. Just the breath of life still flowing in me, despite not having anything. I'm still okay. And when you start conditioning the mind to think, you know what, it's okay, it shifts everything psychologically. And it's not just a physical sense. While from a physical sense, there was health issues that I was dealing with for years that almost seemingly disappeared overnight. Things like asthma and like autoimmune things, and like I was dealing with like this gastrointestinal stuff almost overnight. Like it probably was a couple of weeks, but still, it seems like just disappeared after dealing with it for a long time. But that was just one aspect. It was the physical, the mental, and the spiritual connection, and that's where I started getting into holistic wellness. Because when I was laying there in my car, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of hoping money falls out of the sky, hoping something falls out of the sky. But interestingly, there was like one of those YouTube um, seminars. I think it was Jeffrey Allen, and he's a meditation teacher, and he was doing this talk about duality and essentially how to exist mentally and like, but also like on a spiritual sense as well. And like, it was really like, it was the first time I started opening my eyes to like actually different modalities for healing. And then from there, like I've started studying as much as I could. That was like the snowball that I needed to like, I mean, everything from neuroscience, epigenetics, to energy medicine. I became a level 3 Reiki energy practitioner. Like any modalities that I could learn to like as a possible channel for some sort of growth or some sort of healing. Um, and so that's, you know, that's kind of where my journey's um, been along those lines. And I think the biggest thing I'm learning is I think we have this conception that healing is this pinnacle experience, just like, and that kind of follows the mainstream model that, you know, success is when I reach the mountaintop, or happiness is when I find the perfect relationship. It's not really, but that's the drive. But what I found is that healing is an evolution, because as your mindset begins to shift to past painful experiences, your brain sets new subconscious barriers, because your subconscious mind is the main goal of your subconscious mind is biologically keeping you safe and survival. So once you pass that barrier, it sets a new mark and says, okay, we survived that, you know, and we continue to push past that, and it grows us rather than just, oh, my healing is going to come when I reach this magical moment. I think when we take the mindset of continual growth and evolution, that's when we really begin to heal, because our brain and our body recognize healing, and it's uncomfortable, but it's kind of like getting more comfortable with being uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. And so here you are now.
I'm here now, yes.
And how is your state of mind, your state of being at this moment, as
Yeah,
compared to the what I would describe as the sleeping state
yeah.
of consciousness?
It's definitely more connected to like going from, I think it's, I think maybe Joe Dispenza, he says something like going from someone to no one to anyone or everyone, something like that, right? So it's going from that state of just being a somebody to moving into a state of now I'm kind of isolated. I had disconnected. I didn't talk to most of my family. I didn't talk to pretty much anyone. I didn't know anybody in Seattle. I was pretty much disconnected emotionally from anything that I had ever associated with. And by doing that, well, some people might say, "Oh, that's crazy." Like, but at the same time, you're able to really understand where those neurological connections came from, where those mindsets and those connections really came from. And so, moving forward, it helps you to see life in a like different mindset, because you're now connected to everyone. You don't see somebody as like the stereotypes and the conscious like things that we like to categorize people in. You see this is a being of energy, a being of light. You start seeing the things around you as not like the old school science mentality that said, you know, everything is separate entity and everyone is separate beings. That's not the case. We all are connected, and our energies, even now from distances, our energies collective as a group elevate each other, and that's what I call an emergence. And the emergence is like that, like the school of fish in the ocean, right? They all going in one direction, kind of, you know, up and down. Who knows who's leading? It's all going in one direction, and I believe as a human species, we can start to elevate collectively when we take back some of that, you know, the mindset and that. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can tell just from the way in which you talk in the narrative journey, the authenticity, when you speak and point to your transformation, how deep and how beautiful, um, you know, to be able to see you for who you truly are, and for you to see yourself for who you truly are.
right.
Um, it's interesting how it's so often that we have to seemingly lose everything
Mm-hmm.
to come into a state where we have nothing, to realize that we are everything.
Right.
You know, where everything you think you are dissolves, your money, your job, your partner, everything. And what's left in that moment when you have nothing, you do nothing, but there's still the awareness. And that's what you realize, that you matter. And that's what
Absolutely.
we all are, right? And so that's what I can tell and see you're tapped into. And it's from that source that we can facilitate healing, catalyze that in others, and help others to transform.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Um, so, what exactly has all of this led to within yourself in terms of your offerings to the world?
Yeah.
Um,
So,
yeah.
so I
Walk
think,
us through that.
yeah. So from a like looking at different things, I'm a little bit like, I don't want to say like jack of all trades kind of thing, but the way my mindset is, I always want to learn something new. So it's not like I want to full time do become a Reiki practitioner, but I wanted to understand that modality because I'm an empath naturally, and using intuition and connecting into some of those, not like not and when I say empath, it's not just understanding emotion from an emotional intelligence. It's actually when someone comes to me and starts talking to me, it's actually my mindset shifts into that experience. And just for a brief moment, I can't ever understand exactly what they went through. But for a brief moment, my energies can connect to what they feel in that situation. And that allows me to use my intuition and my growth and my gifts to kind of guide someone. And I say empowerment coaching is kind of what I focus on, because empowerment coaching is not really about you being the source of healing for a client. It's activating within them the different gifts and abilities and the things that they can learn or develop in their own experience that can really activate and empower them to find their own healing modality. And it's not going to look the same for somebody. And that's, I think, sometimes the personal growth world can get like, it doesn't really complete the circle sometimes, because I believe that there's this, I believe in that in terms of our mindset, there's something that is like maybe like a structure, right? Like our minds want structure from the beginning. We want to identify, we want to associate things. And I believe that you can either like, you can live life from a state of a problem structure where everything in life is trying to fix problems, or you can live life from a creative and imaginative state, which is a more conscious, awakened, however you say that, state of mind. Because now you're like, think about when you're a child, and I have to do more research, but I'm thinking like when you're young, like the subconscious programs with like, so your pineal gland being the alchemist in your brain, right, releasing all the chemicals and things that kind of make you feel certain ways when you're young. That's where the imagination and the creativity and the things that now as adults we look at kids and like, oh, that was crazy what I was thinking, but maybe it was just the active imagination and just that open mindset. But somewhere that pineal gland begins to get calcified, we shift to a more analytical mindset because we think we know what we're doing in life. So now we start going in that path, and before long, it's the imagination is gone, and now we're living robotically based on the programs that we've learned. So I think shifting back to some of that is, that's where empowerment is, and it's embracing some of that inner child, some of the inner, connection to our imagination and the creativity that still is within us, just buried under all the programming that we've experienced.
Yeah. Um, I often feel point to a similar vibration of being, which is that innocence, before we layered on with all of these various conditionings through education, parenting, society, the programs, which we know as the matrix, right? That
Right.
are living in the sleep state. So coming back and therefore gaining true power by stepping into agency again and not having to live automatically, but we can now live with intention and
Yeah.
consciously. And that's, I know I can see from your own experience that this is something you've directly embodied. And it's the same for me. And you can, like we know it it's hard to describe it, but it is. And we can attempt to catalyze this, help others to come to see it and know themselves, right?
It's interesting if you're familiar with like Plato's allegory of the cave,
Yeah.
which was written like several thousand years ago. Yet it's kind of like that when the main society is just kind of looking at the shadows on the wall, thinking that's actual reality. But when you actually get out and our eyes slowly start adjusting to the light of truth, and we get closer to that, we start understanding what truth actually is. But then when we go back to the cave and try to explain that, it's met with like our eyes have to adjust, and it's met with all this resistance because he went crazy when he went out there. So until someone experiences an awakening within themselves, it's they that's why it's a unique thing. And sometimes it can be like, okay, if you follow this step and this step and this step, you'll get to that result. It's not like that, because we're all unique beings with our own experiences, with our own design, with our own purpose in life. And if you think that cookie cutter processes are going to work, it may work for some, but it won't work for all, because we all have different attributes. And I believe that's what builds the collective unity, is our collective gifts working together in cohesion to build that emergence, right? Because what you have, I don't have. What I have, you don't have. And we use that together, we can do things that we weren't able to do before. You add more people with different diversity in their gifts and abilities, that's when true growth happens, not just individually, but everyone around you.
Yes, absolutely. And in many ways, that's the value of Awakenpedia, bringing all these different modalities together that are unique vibrations in and of themselves, that allow you as the unique individual with your unique energetic signature to be drawn to the pathway that best serves your field. And so we're all heading towards this same destination, if you will, that is the here and now.
Right.
But it's like the variance is in how we get there, right? And that's what we're endorsing, which is like there is no one size fits all. There is no cookie cutter path on this pathless path. It is a conundrum and a paradox, and it is strange, and yet it is beautiful. And that's what we're understanding and catering towards, which is it's a hard thing to do, but at the same time, it's very simple, right? So it's funny. Okay, but in terms of your like how you structure things, is it largely one to one? Do you do any group type coaching?
So
what does that
so
look like?
I'm I'm also currently working on a PhD in health science, trauma informed care, while being remote. So it's kind of chaotic, but it's I want so generally I'll do groups or I'll do individuals, couples too, because I believe conscious relationships are very, very important right now, because there's such relational challenges. Um, it's really not, it can be easy from a old like level one consciousness to be like victimized, like this happened to me, they did this to me, this. But reality is everyone's on the same path trying to grow, and we're all products of our mental models. But for me, like having those individual, I'm also working on courses, working on a book called the Threshold,
Cool.
like crossing the threshold, things like that. But do group settings, individuals. It really depends. I also offer this thing that I've discovered. Like I use like WhatsApp as a direct line of contact, and instead of like if people are kind of busy, they don't have time for like a 30-minute meeting, they can connect with me like via the WhatsApp chat, and usually within 24 hours I'm able to respond, but it gives them some like kind of like an emergency go-to kind of thing. But I'm also able to use that to send like documents and visual aids or meditation videos or whatever my intuition leads me that this person might benefit from. But that just comes from a person being authentic and open up and saying, hey, this is what I'm going through, and then I kind of see where they're at, what they're looking for, and try to see how we can activate those, you know, how to, I don't want them to rely on me permanently, but how to use me as a step stool to activate and empower themselves.
Right. Yep. Yeah. That makes sense. I appreciate the way in which you serve. Um, it's you embrace truth and let that be your guiding compass to inform how healing happens and is catalyzed and facilitated. A customized approach, and you meet people where they're at and help to inspire their empowerment, stepping back into power. Right? Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. I really, I just want to affirm you in a testament to hearing about, because I resonate very deeply. My path is actually similar to yours in terms of,
Yeah.
like, I'm a nomad now. I work in private equity, was plugged into the matrix. It was a
Yep.
toxic relationship that with cheating and just like let the ego blow up that led to this entire thing for me as well.
Right.
And I know how much courage and strength and bravery that's required to actually unplug and to step into authenticity and to just go into the unknown you are now. So kudos and keep going, right? It's the way.
Yeah, I would say honestly that to me the biggest healing has been, I call it an art or a practice of letting go, because honestly when I've driven across the United States, unless I'm going to a specific destination, I don't use a GPS. I don't need navigation. I just kind of go and trust that I'll be put where I need to be at the right times if there's a need for me in a certain place. But other than that, I'm not. I think like intuition is like making a decision before you think about it, right? So if I can just do something without like getting an analytical process, oh, why did I do that? What am I doing? What am I doing now? Like, and just do something, and I'm not, it may not be practical for everyone to, drive across the country, but I like do something unique. I have what I call Eureka days, where I just go into Barnes and Noble and just find something new that I've never learned before and just read about it. You know, just take some time to just stimulate different thoughts and expand, not to settle and just see how I can grow, or just say, you know what, I want to go try something new. I want to try a different kind of food. I want to, and just go for it and just embrace the unknown. And the more, like I said before, the more safe and comfortable we get in being uncomfortable, the easier it is to heal, because our brains now neurologically recognize that it's okay to be a little bit on edge. Doesn't mean you have to go foolish and, necessarily craziness, chaotically stuff, but maybe it is. I
Yeah.
don't know. But
Yeah.
each person has their own in that regard. So
Yeah. 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 I love it, man. I resonate and I invite everybody that living in that state of surrender, non-resistance to what is fully in alignment now, out of that state of existence and being comes true creation, healing, power, love, extension, everything, right? And um, where the magic is, it's where the miracles occur. So I really appreciate you living this too, right? And like walking the talk, practicing what you preach. There's no greater example or embodiment than actually being in it and using that direct experience to teach, guide, facilitate healing. So
yeah, and I think that in the mindset, like I believe that's where it is. It's like, and I'm also, I'm a holistic health and wellness coach as well, certified internationally, like, ISA personal trainer and all that. But I was like, some of that became too focused on one dimension. We're multidimensional beings. There's this triality of body, mind, and soul, right? So I had to find a way to move out, like where I can still have the knowledge but if a person doesn't shift the mind, it doesn't matter what diet they go to, it doesn't matter what exercise workout they do, until they embody being a healthy person, they're going to chase the rest of their life. And they may be a healthy person, but from their mind it's saying, no, I'm not healthy, so I got to chase this or that. Instead of just being present in the eternal now and saying, I'm a healthy person, and shifting to that mindset, we create extra tension in our life trying to avoid things that we think we don't want, we've labeled as, this was bad. This was a bad experience, so I'm going to run away from this person as far as I can. But we hold on to that emotion, that trapped energy of that emotion, and we never release it. So moving, because we put more tension going the opposite way. It's like, let's say I have, let's say I dislike New York City, right? And I never want to go to New York City, right? But my mind now immediately says, I don't like New York City. So now my brain is like, okay, how can we get away from New York City? And so we do everything in our mind to try to avoid it, creating extra tension. And from a science point, creating more cortisol and stress in our body, trying to avoid. And we could just simply say, oh, I'm going to Australia. We avoid New York without even thinking about it. But because we place our focus on trying to avoid things, it blocks the energy flowing through our body. And that energy gets stuck. And then that's, I mean,
Yeah,
part of a passionate,
I know.
but
We should do a podcast sometime or
yeah,
something. I don't
definitely.
know if you have one, but we can find a way to hop on a longer talk
Yeah,
just to kind
definitely.
of philosophize, contemplate, spiritualize. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, because yeah, man, it's about the flow state, and only when you're in a state of non-resistance, going with the flow of life, is the energy flowing through you. And when
Exactly.
you resist, it creates the blockage of energy within you that leads to uh, illness, manifested illness on the levels of mind and body
Right.
that we call anxiety, depression,
Yep.
various things. So, yeah, releasing all that, living in total flow through health, and beautiful that we share that vision. Um,
Definitely.
I want to wrap this up by inviting you to share any type of guidance or wisdom in imparting a few words, to leave with the community. Anything that's inspired in this moment that you'd like to impart with us about anything in context of this journey
Yeah.
that you feel could be helpful.
I think the well, there's a lot of most important things, but one of the most important things is learning how to ground yourself presently in the midst of chaos. Because it's easy, like I'm out in nature right now. It's easy, to be grounded, and I got, this inlet behind me, and I got nature right around me. It's easy to say, okay, tune in, but when you go out into the world and you're going through Publix or Safeway or whatever stores near you, Kroger, and you're like, you start feeling the energy, you get upset because people are going slower than you. That's when you need the grounding the most sometimes. And when we're able to stop seeing people as just bodies and seeing them as light beings and seeing the energies that they're capable of, I think that is empowerment, because you're not thinking from a egocentric mindset. You're thinking from a cosmic centric, like, what is my life going to do to benefit not just me now, but the next generation and the next generation and the next generation? How is what I'm doing now going to? And when you embody that mindset on a day-to-day basis through that grounding, you connect to source. Whatever you want to believe that is, you connect to that source, and that's where the inspiration, the wisdom, the synchronicities in life, the energy flow just happens. And whether it's balancing your chakras or Reiki or whatever you want to use as a modality, the universe will align you with where you need to be if you just surrender that. And I believe grounding is a gateway to surrender. That's when your mind wants to go through all the emotions of your past. But when you learn to ground, you allow it, okay, that was, but it doesn't have to be now. and then you move forward. So
yeah, beautifully said. Very wise and very true. Um, Grounding, in my experience, brings us into the here and now. It's the present moment, right? You anchor
yeah,
yourself, take yourself out of the mind, the chaos of all our narratives and thinking, this, and it brings us into our body, into the here and now, which is eternal now, the
yeah,
gateway to the vertical dimension of reality.
right,
And from that, we can, as you said, source inspiration, wisdom, true creation, empowerment, all these, all the things that
exactly,
we want. You
right,
know, peace first and foremost.
exactly,
So
exactly.
yeah. All right, man. Well, this was beautiful. That's all I
Yeah,
had. Just wanted to introduce
mm-hmm.
you and to thank everyone who tuned in, who was listening. This will be in your partner profile,
Awesome.
and people can learn more about you, your bio, direct booking
Mm-hmm.
links,
And I,
just
I,
download.
I do a lot of different offers for different, groups,
Yeah,
people. My mission is I know I'm called to heal and to empower as many people as I can. So, but I really want to, reach out, even if it's just a conversation. I do discovery calls for free, but there's never any force or obligation. And if I know somebody that I think might be more beneficial for somebody, I always do referrals and things like that as well. But just to connect and really I see people as being those that those light beings, and their potential and what they can be. So I like just connecting with people and hearing their journey and where they're at, and if any part I can be to help along that, that's I'm here. So you know
thank you. Thank you. It's very kind and just extension of yourself, and I feel your authenticity, which is the most important.
yeah,
And yeah, thank you for being a part of this with us. For joining this platform, for bestowing your faith in our mission that we all share. Um, when we combine these little pockets of light, they shine brighter, and hopefully, we can reach more of the darkness as a result to help transmute it. And so, thank you for playing your part, for being here, and looking forward to seeing how it unfolds.
awesome, definitely.
All right, Adam. Thank you, man. Talk soon.
Thank you. Bye
Bye
now.
bye.